Welcome to the In a Nutshell podcast with myself, Andrew Miles Davis, and my co host, Chris Branch. This is the daily 10-minute podcast where we take out all of the techie talk around generative AI and focus on what the everyday person, content creator, and marketer really wants to hear. Now, we've only got 10 minutes, so we can only focus on one subject. And today, we're going to talk about one of our favorite subjects that we speak about, and that is deepfakes. Yes, we're talking about deepfakes again because almost every other day there seems to be another story around deepfakes. But this one I thought was quite interesting because this is deepfakes. Deepfakes essentially has gone B2B. It's gone business to business. So obviously, with most deepfakes that we've heard about, it's kind of saying someone's created something and they're letting people know about it, or they're trying to fake people. This one is based on an article that I read on essentially a company lost $25 million after an employee was tricked by deepfakes of his co-workers. So before I get into this episode, Chris, or before I get into the detail of what happened, what do you think about so far deepfakes when it comes to in the business world, like, and it comes to using deepfakes to rip off other businesses or people within the business? Have you heard about it?
Yeah, I've heard about it. Yeah, like you said though, I've noticed it more in the e-commerce, quick transaction, quick cash grab, scammy way. But it is fascinating that there's lots more money in B2B. Not surprising at all. My first reaction is I don't think cybersecurity is keeping up with AI. Like in terms of in-house cybersecurity experts that are looking out for these deepfakes just aren't aware of just how realistic the tech is that anybody randomly can do now. Like, it's not like you need to be some Russian cyber hacker doing all this expert stuff. No, you need to use a free platform on your mobile to do this stuff. Like,
That's crazy how far technology's come at the moment.
Yeah.
Just get ready. So these guys here, so an employee at a Hong Kong branch of an unnamed multinational company was reportedly duped by a sophisticated deepfake scam, costing the company around $25.6 million. The employee received a message that appeared to be from the company's chief financial officer based in the UK and hopped on a video conference call that he thought was the company's CEO along with a bunch of top other executives. It turns out in reality that they were all deepfakes, mimicking both the voices and appearance of the individuals, all sourced from publicly available content. The instructions on that call reportedly led the employee to make around 15 financial transfers to different accounts, totaling around 25 million. The local police said the couple of other employees were approached in the same way, so it looks like they took multiple tries before the scammer got their mark. Now, that was one of the first things I thought. I was like, how did they know to go for him? But it looks like they tried multiple people to get, because when it comes to transferring that much money, now you've worked for companies before, so have I. I never had that type of authority to issue that much money. So they must have gone for really someone who obviously can say yes to such amount, even if it's little amounts here, even if it was five amounts, they're still $5 million each, which is not many people has the authority to say yes to that.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier when it comes to cybersecurity and awareness of this, because that should be a chain in which it should never happen. There should be nobody internally at a company that can transfer millions of dollars off the back of one Zoom call to someone random that they've never met. No, there should be at least 3 people that have to check why or how this has happened. And, that's a really failed business service. But yeah, it's not surprising, but this particular case sounds like it was the real great heist of Gen AI so far.
Yeah.
Quite literally, it was a crack squad. You had to deepfake in person, get the voice, get the movement, get everything. You could just send a WhatsApp note to someone with someone's voice clone and then easily scam someone just as easily. So it sounds like these guys have gone to extreme lengths in order to prove how far you can go with this stuff and who you can trick at a senior level. That's scary, really
Exactly.
scary.
I think what you just said there, the heist, is like one of my favorite shows on Netflix is Money Heist,
Right.
or yeah, Money Heist, and there's the one of it now called Berlin, which I'm watching,
Yeah.
and the whole thing obviously is heisting money. It's like the Ocean's 11, or even this new Kevin Hart film that's on that's sort of, I can't remember what it's called, but the whole heist genre is like quite big. So I wonder if they got inspired by that and thought, ah, let's just try this. Went on to create some deep fakes because it's on like video call as well. So the
Mm-hmm.
quality doesn't have to be like amazing. It
Perfect.
doesn't have to be 4K quality. It's just
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, just good enough for people to kind of look at it on the on the screen. Where I thought would be interesting though is because obviously with deep fakes, it's usually programmed. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to say this. So they must have
Mm-hmm.
had some form of technology in. So when it comes to
That's why I'm
answers, they
saying
could
it's so elaborate. Like they must have had
yeah,
something listening and then translating and then reproducing and then acting fast within a low latency speed. Like that's really sophisticated tech to be using. Like way ahead of what I've ever seen. You know, other examples of like scams that are going on in, you know, when they're trying to copy Mr. Beast or Joe Rogan or the Dr. Huberman. That seems to be like low level compared to this, which is a lot
yeah,
more difficult to pull off a live conversation in a Zoom. And then that's so much more difficult, you know?
yeah. I think what's going to happen is we're almost going to get to a point where you're going to be on a call with someone and you're going to have to ask them for their identity or ask some really awkward questions. I think that will happen, you know, when it comes to that, just to make sure you are real, and they'll be saying the same thing back to you, and
That's
it's
also
unfortunate.
gonna
Mm,
that's gonna really impact data security, because if you need to have a scan of your eye or show your government passport, you know, who knows that you're not talking to an AI scammer at that point. So it's going to be very difficult. Like, you know, trusting anything on the internet is going to be one thing, but trusting people in a live Zoom call that they're really the people they say they are, that's going to be even more of a weird thing, you know, like.
yeah, that's going to be crazy. It's like literally us having a conversation. I'm thinking, is this really you, Chris? And you're thinking, is this
No, I'm talking to ChatGPT in the background, mate. I'm prompting constantly around the clock.
but that's crazy. But obviously, what really concerns me is if you think about it, they would have created obviously from the most basic point of view the voice and
Yeah.
a image of the person, a moving image of the person.
Mhm.
But where you start getting that person to respond back in real time, that's where it gets really worrying.
Mm.
Once you start getting technology that will get them to like physically react based on what
Mm.
somebody has said, that also is going to be quite worrying because
Mhm.
forget forget now in a B2B world where we're trying to like rob people in businesses. This is where we start getting into the whole like from kidnapping to
Oh,
like
yeah.
abduction, to all of the other
Serious,
really nasty
serious
stuff
stuff.
that deepfake is kind of getting known for. So I think it's really important that we we find ways that we can secure ourselves without it being too much of a data breach on our own
Mhm.
privacy, because we don't want to
Well, one of
be
the quickest ways to do that, you know, because me and you have both worked in B2B for many decades, right? Like, it's obvious to us that they're a lot slower on the uptake than B2C is when it comes to technology and internet and stuff, because they've never needed it. Like, most B2B companies don't even need a website. It's just a terrible brochure of what they do. Now,
yeah
if you'd have shown that same Zoom chat to us, I bet you we'd have known that it was a deep fake, because we know what to
yeah
look out for, you know. But these companies and their high ranking staff essentially have no training or any prior knowledge about the things to look out for. So
but here's
that's
the
what
thing though,
I mean.
Chris. But here's the thing though, like we might look at it, but the person we're seeing is our boss. So we're
Right.
like, it doesn't look real, but still, just in case it is, I don't want to
Mm.
offend my boss. And that there, I think, is one of the biggest problems. It was, I think he was just like, oh, this is my boss on the call and other senior people to my boss. So that's why it
Well,
was kind of went through.
I loved when you said about the Ocean's 11 example, right? And we'll just add
Mm,
a little bit onto this episode because this is hilarious. If these guys, the scammers in this case, the B2B scammers, are as good as the Ocean's 11's lot, what they would have done is they'd have probed it for the weak points. Like, you know, when they looked at the Bellagio hotel and they looked for the ways they can get in and stuff, then you find out, oh, it's the security that does this rotation and whatever. Well, one of the weak points might be, oh, the most high up in command basically are really old and they don't know what generative AI is. Therefore, the easiest way to scam them would be to make a Zoom thing. So they might have diagnosed that as being the weak point and then gone in and done that. And, you know,
Whatever
had they
happens,
yeah,
whatever happens, there was research done. So yeah,
and
that
it
doesn't.
was clearly well done. You know, they got away with millions, so scary.
Yeah, yeah. So in a nutshell, it goes down to that old saying, you know, where it said, "Believe half of what you see, none of what you hear." But actually, we're getting to the point where it's like, what do we believe now?
Yeah. Just be aware that everything can be faked and just be, you know, constantly vigilant. That's what I would say.